Josh Cantor.
Are we there yet? Let me ask you today, in relation to your own life and your own journey, your path, your goals, where you're headed, to ask yourself that question. Are you there yet? Each of us have a there, somewhere we're headed. And for each of us, it's a little bit different. Perhaps for you, it has to do with money. Perhaps it's time freedom. Perhaps it's relationships. There's something that we're all pushing forward. And we have it in our minds. There's this concept out there that we're pushing, and we haven't yet reached. So formulate that in your mind, whether it's a certain dollar amount, a place, a setting where you are, person you're with, picture that. And perhaps as we age, we might trim that down a little bit. Perhaps we might become a little bit more realistic about our goals. And perhaps for some of us we think, I'm never really going to be there, but I'll be there. But I'm not there yet. It's still out in the future. I used to work with a gentleman named Carlos, and he and I became pretty good friends. We worked together for years. And we would talk every once in a while about our goals. And I would say, someday I'd really like to have this. This is just this thing that I've been formulating for years. And he would say, that's something I've been thinking about, and I also want to do this. And so we do that in our interactions at work. Maybe have someone like that. And one of his big goals was writing a book. He wanted to write a book about relationships, and this was something that was a passion that was building over years and years, and he was drafting it out. And when we worked together and were good friends, he was updating me on the progress of that. He also wanted to start some schools for underadvantaged kids. And so he had these ideas, and we ended up, as people do, parting ways because of life. And every once in a while, we would text each other or email. And on one of those occasions, I emailed him a couple years ago, and he was out in Texas. And he said, Josh, I am there. He basically described where he was. He had finished his book. He and another person had started 2 schools for kids. This is someone only 2 years older than me. And all of those dreams that he had described to me over the years, he had reached. If I had asked him, are we there yet, he would have said yes. And 2 weeks after that conversation, I received a call from another gentleman that we had all worked with, and he said, did you hear about Carlos? He suddenly got pneumonia, and he checked himself into the hospital and died in the emergency room, suddenly, young man. But he accomplished in his life what few of us do in terms of reaching his goal, and he finished his path. He was there. I'm sure if he were still alive, he would be very satisfied and happy with what he had accomplished in life. So this got me thinking, what is a goal? We come up with goals. What is it? What is that substance that we create out of nothing in our minds? We start with absolutely nothing. We come up with thoughts, and we say, I'm going someday to do that, and sometimes we reach it. We actually create what doesn't exist out of nothing. It's the beauty of human creation. We take a thought, and we achieve it, because the only real difference between us is our thoughts. And we differ a little on how attached we are. At times I find myself very attached to my goals, and thinking that because I'm not there yet, my sense of identity, my sense of self-worth is not what it will be when I reach that goal. Are you ever there? You think that what you're worth in life is what you achieve. And if you set an achievement out there, that's a missing piece in your puzzle of who you are. When you reach that, you'll be complete. But right now, you're not. Maybe that's true, and maybe that's not. I'm just posing that. That's something that I go through, and maybe you do too. So let me suggest that we formulate goals out of what is deeply valuable to us, our deepest, inmost passions. And it may take a while to come up with those. And the things that we think are goals may not be really our goals, because I find the closer I get to my goal, the more I redefine it and say, it wasn't quite that I wanted, it's a little bit different. One of my favorite Indian teachers was a student of Gandhi, and he came to the United States. after being in very difficult circumstances in India. He worked very hard, and all those around him worked very hard, and so that was the environment he grew up in. Just for survival, there was a lot of work. And he came to the United States, and his impression of the U.S. in his writings was that people sat around floating in swimming pools and enjoying themselves. And this was surprising to him, not because people were floating in swimming pools, but because of his own internal response. Because he said, you know, there's nothing wrong with floating in a swimming pool, but it just doesn't bring out of you the inmost qualities, the inborn qualities that we all have, the way that only work can bring out of you. And so his takeaway from that was that work itself is the goal. And that although we have something we're working toward, there's value in living in the moment and saying, right now, in the work that I put out, that is my identity. And that is where I belong. And it's not that I'm missing part of myself because it's out in the future. It's that I'm complete right now. And that's why, born out of my completeness, I work toward this goal. So allow me to suggest that no matter how far away we are from our goals, or no matter how close, let's keep redefining them, let's keep making goals. But let's do it born out of what we are. And let's live in the moment, because when we do, we will always succeed. And we will never find ourselves asking the question, are we there yet? Mr. Toastmaster.